one of the things that I wanted to do with this video is share a little bit more about who I am and how I came to get involved with the programming that I am and setting up this younger, older, elder channel. So, one of the things that I said to myself here was, I'm sure of this statement. I'm taking on the challenge of living my legacy life. So, the word legacy and life, the notion of the quality of life, standard of living, is important to me. And I want to get involved with it. I want to challenge it. I'm just not going to take it as it unfolds as it would want to. I'm going to help to direct it. I'm going to control the quality of the experiences that I welcome into my life. And that includes the persons as well. So, what I want to do is share this with you so that I might inspire you to do the same thing. Now, what I thought that I would do is share with you, okay, if I'm in my 71st revolution of the sun and it's 24, and I went back 50 years to 74, that basically puts me at the tail end of high school, entering into young adult and what was happening at the time. So I'm going to be sharing in a bit of 10-year blocks here. Now, I'm doing this so you might get a sense of my evidence and how it informed my education and the kind of experiences that I created for myself and that I reflected on to give me more evidence. Remember that three of those chasing themselves? So, starting in 74, I had just gone into university and I started off in engineering, then went into forestry. And I was playing volleyball at the time, thinking, oh, if I could only get to the Olympic team in volleyball, that would be great. So it was always sort of that dangling carrot for me. I never did make it, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I enjoyed the volleyball and I was looking for things to do. But what was interesting here is that I finished my round of university there in 76, and I said, maybe I'll go on a trip. And so I decided I would go on a 6 month trip, 3 months in England, 3 months in Australia. I had relatives in both those places. And I said, okay. So I got myself organized after spending a couple of wonderful summers doing work with youth in the outdoors with nature. And I started off the trip, got my 3 months into England. I ended up actually working at Reader's Digest, and it was to pull the pallets of the books that were then sent out when people ordered them. So it was kind of an interesting job. I mention it just because it was an interesting job. So I started that trip. I spent time in England, and then just after the holidays there, the Christmas holidays, I went to Australia and I got involved with playgrounds and recreation, which was part of my history. And I just thought that I would continue to learn about play and playgrounds and recreation and leisure. And I would just do it while I was traveling. I was going to be playing and recreating and involved in recreation anyway. But what happened was I got involved with a group around playground design. And that led me to get involved as a playground leader for a summer program that they had that got me lined up to do a job for a couple of years as a recreation officer in the outback of Western Australia. So I said, okay, here we go. And I just said yes and yes and yes and yes and spent then what I thought was 3 months was 3 years in Australia. And I took up every experience I could get my hands into. I played basketball at a high level, volleyball at a high level, the recreation officer. I traveled around, I visited, I walked everywhere I could, got a dirt bike. I just got into every experience I could so that I might bring that richness into my life, not knowing what that would be at that time, but I wanted to get involved with that. So that brought me back to Canada in the 80s, and I went back to university. And that was kind of interesting because it was from the tail end of that trip around the world that I decided to go back to university. So, what was that tail end experience? Well, I went from Kathmandu, Nepal to London, England, overland. That was when bus tours could still make it through. Now, we didn't get into Afghanistan at that time. We came in through India, down through Pakistan, and up into Iran that way. But that was 1979, and there was a lot of interesting things happening at that point in time. And if you want to, you can always go to Google and just check out what was happening in the world in 1979. I experienced some of that. So what that did was it said, great experience. Let me go back to university because I would really love to get a deeper involvement with recreation. So I went and I did my outdoor recreation degree. And that led me then into the next number of years. So that took me through until the 2014. I think that would make it a little bit better. I got then involved with lots of things in that time. And there was a lot of ups and downs in there. And just as a highlight reel for you, I found myself involved with the Red Cross, and that led me to a couple of tours in Africa, working on HIV and AIDS and relief development and relief operations with the big aircraft. That brought me back to Canada, having completed my master's in there as well. That set me up for sort of my first jobs in the university setting as an adjunct professor, and I did that as well. And that brought forward opportunities then to do a lot of consulting work when I left the university work in both team and group development and well living workplace, mergers and acquisitions. I got lots involved in all of that area. And that gave me an opportunity to make other kinds of decisions about how I wanted to improve my life. And so now I had my degrees, I had my master's. I said, I'm going to do my doctorate. Okay. Got into adult education, high performance improvement. I used that, got it, and that led me into um, being a professor at a university, helping doctoral learners get their doctorates. And that was something I always had in the back of my mind, in my heart. I wanted to give back into the academic world with doctorates. I did it, got that, checked that all off. And then that led me into okay, this is great. So, what's going to happen now? Well, unfortunately, I made some critical crash errors. And some of it was because of things that I saw when I was traveling. I got involved in some situations of war and machine guns stuck up my nose and stuff like that. And then I made some not good decisions around investing the monies that I had, and I lost all of the money I had. I got into great debt, had to go through bankruptcy, lots of things like that. Some crashes in terms of who I was as a person. I had to pick myself up, and that's where I really learned that I love to walk. And walk is muse, metaphor, self care companion, living systems educator, inspiration for every breath. I learned that deep into my core as a response to how to move myself along. And I'm grateful for all that I went through, but I'm still digging myself out a little bit in my later years here of some of those decisions. Okay, I got some things to do, and I'm sure that if you look at the evidence and the education experience of your life, you could track a very interesting story as well. And that then led me to go, okay, what do I want to do with this? So in the 2014 area, 10 years ago, and I tracked this back because I actually started a YouTube channel. Was it 2011, 2012, somewhere in there? Started to get a little bit more uploading happening in 2014. And since then, I've been attempting to get videos up all the time. And actually, I got to a point where I opened up 3 channels. And I've got one primary and then the 2 secondary. But it was during that time that I also encountered that thing we don't talk too much about, which happened started in 2020, went into that lockdown, and that got me into truly understanding that I was a digital nomad, because through that bankruptcy, I lost my house. I lost a lot of everything I had. Then I decided to give everything that I had left away and became a digital nomad. Well, a gray digital nomad. And from that, I said, okay, I got to pull the bootstraps up here. I got to figure out what it is that I want to do. So I tried some other different consulting and gave funding international ecological projects a go, and didn't quite make that one as well. And that's okay, but I made some great contacts, did a lot of thinking, and that led me to understand what it is that I'm doing today. And it's with that that I came to understand about legacy and really truly getting into it. Now, I was up and down with it, and I started off with legacy for elders, and then legacy for grandparents, and legacy. I doing it all till I came to where I am today, and I'm going to share that story with you. But I came to appreciate mentoring and mentorship, and ended up co-creating the international mentoring community, where we support mentor practices, help mentors become better at what it is that they do. And then I opened up a channel about awareness from forests, bringing my nature, remember, forestry, outdoor recreation. My master's was in environmental recreation geography, adult education. I started bringing all of those along because I wanted to actually get involved with this notion of awareness from forests and trees. The short version is awareist. You'll see aware and forests in there. And it's that one that I'll spend more time later in my life, but I'm going to give most of my effort into legacy and mentorship now. And again, that story will unfold here. So that's a little bit of the background, the evidence I've collected in there, all the different education approaches I use, from being a coach, a mentor, an instructor, a trainer, a writer, a workshop creator, all these different kinds of educating approaches. And all of these experiences, even the crashes, once I dug myself out and I truly started to understand how I wanted to live my life, I don't crash anymore. And if I do feel it, remember nature? Arr, I get out and I go for my walks, and that's what really helps me to deal with that when I don't feel so good about certain things. But I certainly built up my resilience around all of that. That resilience is you enter in somewhere knowing you're going to go down, but you're going to come up and out somewhere better than when you went in, and make sure you don't get into dysfunction while you go through that journey. To me, that's what resilience is. And I have really built up that resilience factor. So I'm thinking that wherever you are today, like I am, and I'm going to share the story of where I am now and what I'm doing. If you look at the evidence that you collect, and if you haven't started doing that, I would encourage you to start collecting the evidence in whatever way that might be, writing, photographs, scanning, still creating, doing whatever it is, and figuring out the educating approach that you want to use. How do you want to share it? Online, offline, from the stage, not the stage, consulting, mentoring, writing, whatever educating approach you want to use, and then figuring out the experiences, yes, that you've had, but the experiences that you would like to have. So it feeds that evidence again. Remember, those 3 things are chasing themselves. I call it the 3E catalyst because I think there's so much that's going on there. So I just wanted to really give you a sense of that so you had something to work with. Now, remember I said that I am now in my 71st revolution. Well, I'm a month away from my 71st start of my, but let's call it 71st revolution. And with that, this is my commitment to the story of legacy that I want to unfold. In other words, I want to live to the intention of my legacy that I'm going to leave. Live the legacy that I intend to leave, is another way of saying it. So, with that, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to invite you to get involved. If you're inspired to get involved, and I might be of assistance, of my background that you've heard, what you're doing with your life, and how you would like to look at legacy. Remember, legacy is about the useful what's time, effort, and money. You gift others so that they can learn from you, so you can remain relevant, age confidently, invite experiences into your life, invite events that you welcome into your life, to serve as a mentor, to assist with fundraising, fund development for a project somewhere in the world, just to get clarity and confidence and courage and commitment flowing through you. If that's what you're up to or like to get involved with, then what I'm going to share with you next might be of assistance. So, first thing I would encourage you to do is take a look at yourself through whatever lens. I did this. I went and said, okay, what is it about my being and my having and doing that I'm a little, oh, I still got to figure something out here. And I came up with, well, I'm a confuser at times, a procrastinator, and a backstager. Let me explain. The confuser is sometimes I lean into my university words, or I play with words too much and I confuse people. And I have to remember, hang on a minute, I have to use the words of those I'm interacting with if I want to engage with them. It's like this video. I'm hoping that through my explanations, my descriptions, you're getting a sense of this evidence and education experience catalyst that you could use for yourself to start looking at this legacy that you would like to live, the legacy life that you would like to bring forward. So, if you get to understand some things about yourself, some ways in which you look at yourself, look in that mirror and, oh, okay, this is what happened. I got confuser, procrastinator, and backstager coming at me. So now I'm a clarifier, a completer, and a contributor. So I do my best to clarify from consistency. I'm attempting to be consistent. And from that consistency, I can be a clarifier. I can clarify things. I'm a completer. I do my best. If I start something, I'm going to finish it. Because in the past, this is how I would describe my life. I only wish I could finish what I start. Yeah, I wasn't finishing things. I've got more books in my background and in my files on my computer than, oh, I've got so much I've got to get going here. The contributor is I'm willing to go to front of stage, not physically front of stage, but to go into being one who contributes. I'm not going to use the word influencer. That's not a word that I would put into my vocabulary. I'm a contributor. There are books and prompt books and that, and some of them are around and in the back here that you can see. And they're available. I put them out and make them available as a contributor. Being in 2024, this is what I'm going to be doing is leveraging this living legacy life approach with you if you want to get involved because of younger, older elders, that continuum, certainly working with the elders, working both ways. A younger decides to call themselves older, but an older is given the gift of the title elder by the community they interact with. So, this legacy life approach And then I'm going to bring out mentor practices and awareness, these three YouTube channels that I have. Now, what I'm going to be doing is figuring out how to add a lot of new books and online workshops and extraordinary experiences using solo no pants lifestyle, if you wish. No, I'm not going to go in front of stage because I don't want to wear pants. I'm not going to go out and meet people because I don't want to wear pants. If I'm going out and someone asks me to speak, I'll probably do it in shorts. If I'm going to be walking and talking, I'll be in shorts. Now, I appreciate I live in Canada, so I won't be able to do it all the time, but I'm going about living a solo, no pants lifestyle. It's just a way to frame it up for myself, A, to have some fun, and also hoping you chuckled a little bit about that. But most of all, please watch lots of the channel videos.